In the last Cup Car 2.0 update, I was able to show you the process for designing and building my 3D printed floorboard, and also share how I'd be enclosing the cockpit. But due to some printer issues, I wasn't able to share everything I wanted to. Now with the printer sorted and another 40 hours of printing out of the way, we can finally start to tie this rig together. On February 13, 2025, I shared a video of my first version of a 3D printed sim rig interior. Now on the same day in 2026, I'm ready to share just how far this new skill has taken me. Needless to say, the last year has been absolutely insane. I've printed a few different rig interiors, built a whole new rig, started the whole Cup Car 2.0 process, moved to a new race room, remodeled the race room, and now we're back into Cup Car 2.0 on the second video being back into that build, and it's come a long ways and it's going to go a lot further in this video. Now there's still a lot of work that's got to be done after I'm done making this video, so let's dive right into this and get started with the floorboard for the driver's side. In the last update I shared with you guys how I designed the floorboard for the passenger side. For the driver's side I used pretty much the same process. As you can see, it's broken up into 4 parts. The other one was 10, but this one won't need to be as long. And of course, as I mentioned, just adding some concave and some different structural components so that it looks like the tub of a race car. Makes it look pretty accurate and authentic once it's installed in the rig. So these parts are already printed, so let's get them put on. Now before we jump over to the rig, everybody always asks me if they can get access to the STL files for this build, and I do make them available, but only via member-only post here on YouTube. They're available with the base membership. All you got to do is sign up and become a member. It's like $5 a month. Helps support the channel, helps keep the filament flowing. So if you guys are interested in the designs, they are available. You just got to become a member. If you guys caught the last update, you'll notice I now have a subframe for the center console in the rig. We're actually going to be putting together most of the center console in this video, but first I want to get the floorboard in. For the floorboard, you'll notice I also have a subframe. It goes from right underneath the seat over to the pedal deck. I use 2020 aluminum profile for this as well. I don't put a lot of weight in this spot. I can't stand on it, and when I climb into the rig, I don't adjust myself using the middle section. I always use the pedal deck anyways. So because this won't have a lot of weight, I'm not concerned about using 2020 profile or putting 3D printed parts on it. But if you're somebody who would step heavy in this section, 3D printed parts probably aren't the best option. That said, let's get them all put on so you guys can see the finished result. Now, for this one, I've already got the bolts in place, so it's literally just sliding them in, trying to get the locks to go the right direction. And unlike last time, I'm actually just going to set everything in place, get it on the aluminum profile before tightening it down. Because with the passenger side, I had to make a lot of corrections after I got everything in place. So if I set it and don't tighten it, then I can twist it all together to get it aligned and not have to worry about doing that again. One of the biggest challenges of this one is just getting all the T-nuts to line up and drop in place so that they can be tightened. Which on my second go around has been a lot easier than the first time, but I actually pulled these out to put a support rail in the middle. I would have pulled them out to just show you guys the pieces anyways, but the main thing I needed to do was get that support in there, because one of the things I noticed is if I rest my foot right here in the middle, I was getting some sinking, as I would expect to with these flimsy pieces. But now that that's in place, that won't be an issue anymore. All right, so now that it's in place, all I got to do is tighten down the bolts and this thing's done. It's super simple to get this floorboard in. The last one, obviously I had to do a lot more framework and kind of consider the size. I didn't mention it last video, but as far as the size of the passenger side, because it has come up in some comments, it was kind of a catch-22 deciding how tall to make it, because the monitor gap between the floorboard and the door on the monitor was so big and it was just so much open space that also didn't feel any more immersive than having it up high. And at least up high, it closes all those gaps. It actually works a lot better at the height that it is. So part of my problem is probably that my monitors are a little too high, but we're a little late in the build to fix that. That might be something I go back and look at going into the Huracan build, but I wasn't really planning on rebuilding the enclosure, so I don't know that that would work out any better. Might have to do some roof adjustments and maybe make a few other tweaks to get those down lower. All right, and the floorboard is in place. Now for the center console, it's been probably the trickiest thing I've tried to design yet. First off, you could see that I actually got some aluminum profile STLs and imported them and basically came up with a framing structure for this thing so that I could have the shifter sit low and kind of give it that slope that like a GT3 RS has. And that's kind of what I used as a guide to build this. And just every little bit of it's been absolutely tricky. You guys can see here these little drop-in rails. These are supposed to hold everything in place just by clipping it in. Unfortunately, I've had some issues with the lower clips, more so because of the way I had to print the lower half. The top part, like the cover I'll show you in a minute, that worked out perfectly and it'll drop in just fine. But right here in this hole, I have set screws on both of them that basically locks these in place so they don't slide anywhere. And then as far as actually designing the center console, this is basically the opening for the shifter. Then down below that is the framework for the cup holder slash lower part of the deck. This was probably the hardest part to design. You guys can see that's actually one solid piece that I shaped out. And just trying to get the design exactly right was actually a bit tough. I had to like figure out exactly where to extrude the bottom just to be able to bend the top down and create the slopes that you see. Like that probably took me an entire day's work just to figure out how to get that right. And then on the sides, just a little shrouding to make it look clean and cohesive. Underneath the lower cover, you guys can see this piece right here that I designed to hold the aluminum profile all together at the bottom. It's basically a multi-way joint just to bring everything together, keep it locked in place and make sure it doesn't move around when I'm using the shifter. Then over here on the sides, you can see the side panels are essentially, I've got one piece right here that has a little bit of an extrusion to it just so that I can wrap that in a fabric later on. This piece slides right up in there. I can only print up to 300 millimeters. So I had to be careful about where I cut these and just kind of design it all together. And this is pretty much the start of the center console. Before we start installing the center console on the rig, I just wanted to explain the main part and some of the framework while I have good lighting to do so. First off, on the back, you can see 150 millimeter aluminum profile. I actually 3D printed these ones because I ran out of the metal ones and they seem to work just fine. And then the main aluminum profile up the angle here, this is 400 millimeters. You could see the inserts that I was talking about to clip everything in, sitting in there with the set screw in it. And then at the bottom, this is that multi-joint that I was talking about that'll connect all the aluminum profile. Though I probably won't install this right now just because I think there's still some work to be done here. And of course, the one back panel on each side. And that's pretty much everything holding it together right now. The way I've designed it, most of it will be held together by the side panels. Should be pretty locked in place. Now we can get it put on the rig. So for the framework in the middle here, I used 4-foot rails that I had left over from the passenger side floorboard. And it's actually going to give me an opportunity to do something really cool later down the road. And then in the middle, I have 150 millimeter aluminum profile separating it. And then for the shifter to be installed, I actually took that aluminum profile, dropped it down at kind of an interesting angle, and used a SIM card that you can buy out from like multiple different sim racing places that usually you use to mount a shifter at weird angles. I just use that as a plate to go across the bottom here. And then this should pretty much just drop right in place. I want to get the T-nuts in place and then I can slide it in where it goes. Now before I tighten that down, I want to get the other little side pieces in place. All right, now I'm gonna make sure everything's aligned properly and I can tighten those bolts down too. When I started this build, I told you guys I was gonna share the wins and the fails, and one thing that really didn't work out is my little lock tab. So this is the faceplate that's supposed to be going on. And you can see one little lock tab. The other 3 have broken off just trying to put it on. But I'm not going down easy today, so we're gonna put 3M adhesive in there and lock this bad boy in place for right now. It's not the permanent solution, and it'll be probably a little time before this file makes it onto the out for sharing, but at least if I can get it to hold in place for the time being, push it all in and make it stick, I guess. It's not the most ideal solution, but at least everything's locked in place now. So we don't have to worry about anything slipping out. The shift plate's just gonna sit on top here for right now, but everything's pretty sturdy. And then I got one other piece to put on, because you can't have a center console without an armrest and storage. I'm only part of the way into designing this one. I still have to design the whole lid and print the storage compartment. But I've got the framing at least to be able to get an armrest in. I'm gonna print using some TPU or something soft to have a nice cushion for the armrest. And then right in the middle there, I've got a spot to drop in a storage compartment. And with the exception of the broken lock tabs, I feel like the center console is off to a good start. So usually I want to take a test run after installing stuff like that and just do a POV video and show you guys what it looks like. But I'm thinking I'm going to do that separate and upload it in the next few days because, to be quite honest with you, I'm a little bit burned out from this week and I would like to be on my game if I'm going to jump behind the wheel. My goal is to have the rig done in the next month or so. And with everything that's gotten done the last couple weeks, I feel like it's on track and things are going good. There's a few little details to work out, some things to fix in there, and a couple more parts still to design, but it's most of the way done and it's starting to feel really good. Now, I always say none of this would be possible without you guys and the sponsors. If you guys are looking for anything sim racing related, make sure you go check out the sponsors down in the description. If you haven't hit that subscribe button to follow the build, make sure you do that and ring the bell. And until next time, I'll see you guys out on the track.